Welcome to the webinar, a business case study using Homeland Security as an example. And on behalf of my two sidekicks, Jimmy Baker and Sean Campbell, we're all pleased that you took the time to attend this session. Some of you may have attended our first session in which we discussed our approach to finding where the money is going, determining what opportunities are coming out, and then using that information in a decision framework or pipeline management system in order to improve your chances of winning the contracts. Today we're going to take those same approaches but use them with the Department of Homeland Security to actually demonstrate how to use them rather than just talk about them. So we're going to do a quick overview and then give you a snapshot of DHS for 2013 before we go into the real sessions themselves. Jimmy Baker is going to talk about how to follow the money. Sean Campbell from ePipeline will talk about how to find winning opportunities, and then I'll pick it up from there and discuss how to use a decision framework to improve your win rate and actually beat your competition. So we have a few special offers that we'll go through right at the end. Before you get started with an agency, and we're going to be talking about IT today, but this is really true for any kind of service or products that you're selling into the government. You really need to understand their programs. DHS really doesn't care much about IT. What they do care about is preserving freedom, securing America, protecting the homeland. So understanding that really puts you in a much better position to sell your IT services or provide your consulting services or whatever it is that you're bringing into the agency. The tips and techniques we're going to talk today apply to any set of services into any department or agency within the federal government, but you must start with really understanding the mission of that organization. I'm going to turn this from here over to Jimmy to just give a quick overview of the DHS budget.
Thanks, Ed. Good afternoon to everyone. I want to thank you all for joining this. As Ed said, we're going to be showing a business development case study if you were looking at the technology budget, but we also work with clients outside of technology. And I've been personally involved in working with DHS since its inception almost a decade ago, right after the attack of 9/11, and working with clients to get in here. And again, there is no low-hanging fruit. We're going to show you how to do your homework, and we're going to show you some real practical examples that you can do. I'm going to let everyone just to take a moment and read this slide on your screen. And I know a lot of these presentations you go to, you get someone showing slide after slide about the mission and the organization and their numbers and everything like that. And with respect to that, we wanted to let you all know this is an enormous organization. It's made up of many different departments, and you have to approach them each as an individual vertical when you're looking at DHS. You can read the budget numbers, but what I want to get into quickly, and I'm going to go ahead and take control of the presentation. What I want to show you all, bear with me just a moment, Ed. I'm not sure if
I can just step in over here, and this just is an overview of the three sections that we're going to be doing. Jimmy's going to be presenting how to find the money. Sean dipping into the ePipeline database to come up with specific opportunities, and then I'm going to take it from there and run it through a bid pipeline framework. And this is exactly what we would do with clients if we were helping them develop their pipeline of opportunities to grow the company.
Thanks, Ed. And as he mentioned, we're actually going to show you how you take this from the research to what Sean will run down in ePipeline, and literally how Ed will start a capture with this. Where I begin whenever I work with a client, and again, the skills that we're showing you here, although we're talking about Homeland Security, are applicable to any federal organization. But what's critical is you have to follow the money. I think many times we end up chasing deals or program, and if they're not congressionally funded, you can find yourself in a lot of different trouble. Now, where we're going to start in is we're going to look at we're going to give an example from information technology. And as I mentioned, we work with clients in all different spans, so it's not always about IT. But for our purposes today, what you will see on your screen is an excerpt from the President's IT budget. And now you can look, we have it highlighted on Homeland Security. You can see their total spending there with the $5.7 billion. And what we're really going to focus in on, and this is a very important takeaway for you, is what does DME mean? And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. What I want you all to be able to do, and this is your takeaway, and they're actually, as we're talking, there are going to be 3 takeaways that I want you to walk away from this session with. 1, I want you to understand how to access the President's budget. 2, I want you to understand the difference between steady state dollars and what I'm calling DME, development, modernization, and enhancement. The 3rd takeaway from my portion of this is I want you to know how to tactically go out and get as much information as you can about this customer so that when you call them, you can speak to them in a manner that demonstrates that you understand the line of business that they're in, you understand their mandates, missions, and have an idea of how much money that they're going to be able to spend on it. So let's begin. What you'll do is you'll go out to the federal IT spending report. You can see there on your screen, I've got a website for you. The overall IT budget for the current fiscal year that we're in is $74.5 billion. DHS has $5.75 billion for overall IT, of which $1 billion, or about 20% of that number, is a new money. When you review all this, and if you've never downloaded the President's budget, you're going to get your Microsoft Excel skills to work out. You'll download this enormous spreadsheet, and at the bottom of it, there are tabs where you can actually click on the agency, and there are 378 line items for 2013. I know sometimes it seems like a lot of line items to read, so we're going to show you a little shortcut that you can do to quickly figure out what your company does. Now, this is an easy-to-use technique, and as you can see here, for those of you that use a Mac like I do, you hit Command-F, or I think it's Control-F on a PC, and what you're going to do is you're going to make a list of the keywords that your company does. Go through your website, go through deals that you want. I don't know if you're selling mobile solutions, modernization, systems engineering and technical assistance, web development, logistics packages. I don't know what you do, but you need to make a short list of precisely what your organization does. After you've done that, you're going to have this enormous spreadsheet up on your screen. You hit the Command-F feature, and you're going to literally type in the keyword that you're going to look for. And what we did for today's presentation when Sean and Ed talk, we're going to show you how we use the keyword modernization and how we take that from the raw research here into putting it into a pipeline. So again, do this, and then what you're going to really focus in on is there's that column that says DME, or that's your new money for the budget year. And again, you want to focus on programs primarily that have new funding or programs that have a healthy increase in steady state funding. Don't chase something that doesn't have a lot of money to offer your company, because you'll end up hitting a dead end with that. Now, once you've done that, and I tell you, I do this for clients, and it's a huge exercise. It takes sometimes a good several weeks to go through this. There's some other areas that you need to go to gain insight about the Department of Homeland Security. I want you to take a look at your screen, and all of these are they're just imperative to understanding the Homeland Security customer. 1, you've got to read their 2013 budget. Don't even think about talking to someone without understanding what's going on there. I would also encourage you to look at the strategic plan for 2012 through 2016. It's a phenomenal document. Your marketing, your channel, your capture, your BD, your salespeople should all be able to reiterate the rhetoric that flows through these documents back to the government customer. Also, we'd mentioned that it's 22 different organizations in Homeland Security. Go to the different CIOs' homepages, find out what's going on there, get an understanding of what their challenges are, because again, from cybersecurity to protecting our borders, the mission, the focus, the mandate changes. We're going to spend a little time on this today, but if you do not know the 300s, and I want to talk to you about this in a little bit, but Form 300A is what an agency fills out to get funding from Congress. In a perfect world, you're going to be able to read all these business cases, find them in the budget, and be able to make an assessment of how you can help the government. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to let you read the rest of these, but again, there's just a wealth of information from the IT dashboard to GAO and OMB reports. Again, Sean's going to talk later in this about how you can use ePipeline and their enormous database that I believe has got over 7 billion in pre-RFP opportunities over the next 2 years. Now, we're going to shift gears. So first tactic, look at the numbers. Second tactic, get some insight to what they're talking about. You're ultimately going to have to figure out how to penetrate an agency and whom to call. And one of the great ways to figure out and to really, get a good call is to look at what the business cases are showing. For those of you that don't know about the 300s, this has been a tool of mine for years that I look at and understand. And I'm literally on an assignment right now with a client where we're calling down the 300s at another agency looking for opportunities. Read on your screen. There's a link there to a guide where you can do this. But these are the business cases, and you want to have an understanding of what are the key businesses that the target customer is into. And again, your outreach, your websites about Homeland Security, your marketing should all reflect these kind of things. You will see here I have a sample of a Homeland Security business case on the side. Look at this. They're telling you about their risk and issues. I mean, come on. I've been in sales a long time, and I'm getting the customer's risk and issues. That's how I'm going to tailor my talk to them. If you're looking outside of Homeland Security, I gave you a link for the Homeland Security business cases, but what you simply do is if you can Google the word Exhibit 300 or CIPIC, which is Capital Planning Investment Control, with the name of the agency, you'll find that. There's also a link on the OMB page. And again, you can learn how a program's doing, what their key issues are, and in some cases, they'll even put the name of the program manager in there that you can begin calling on. And that's one of the key ways that you'll learn how to pierce an organization. Now, we're going to get ready to wrap up my time and hand things over to Sean, but I wanted to leave you with one other point. As long as I've been doing this business, and in my book I have a whole chapter on this, but there's always this kind of disconnect, and I've been on the sales and marketing side. Marketing will create programs that sometimes will bring people in, but they don't result in leads. And a lot of times marketing will give sales good leads and they don't follow them up. And one of the key ways that you can fix that problem in your organization is develop a verticalized approach. If we had more time on this call, and when I teach other classes on the budget, I get into the lines of business and the federal budget. But think of it this way. The government began using accounting principles to track the lines of business or the type of purchases that they make. And what you've got to think about is what is the type of business that they're in. Go back to your Marketing 101 class. There are all these verticals that exist. However you skin it, there's between 15 and 30 in the federal market. And in reality, if you're going after Coast Guard, if you're going after immigration, you should have an understanding of what they do. What kind of business are they into? When you look at any agency, are they in logistics? Are they in command and control? Is it a fusion center? Are they in border protection? What is it that they're actually doing? And you should curb your unique selling proposition to that. So as you're going through all this as BD guys, marketing's job is to help us create leads. And if they aren't reading these documents and understanding how to verticalize what your company does to the target you're going after, it's going to be very hard for the government to understand what your company really offers. Now, I know that we hit an enormous amount of information in a quick time frame. I would encourage you all to pick up a copy of my book on Kindle or in paperback on Amazon. I go into details of all of this. You can also contact me. My information's there on the screen. And now I want to, I've had the privilege of knowing Sean Campbell for over a decade. And Sean and I have worked hand in hand with different accounts. And Sean is an expert in this business. He understands how to work with the organization. He's a senior consultant with ePipeline. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to my friend Sean Campbell. Sean?
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean Campbell with ePipeline. If anyone already knows me, hello. If you've never heard of ePipeline, what we do is we help people identify and qualify the opportunities you want to go after in the government. So in order to understand the possibilities that are out there for a company or a large or small organization, you need to know what's in front, what's coming out, and what could occur in the next X months. In this case study, we're looking over the next few years instead of upwards to 60-plus months is what we could do. Now, ePipeline has been around since 1999 when we became incorporated. We are the leader in the online source for federal opportunities, and we do cover 3 tiers of the government, which is broken out into sub-tiers underneath. So like Jimmy mentioned earlier, there's a plethora of tiers within the government and verticals. And we put them in there as IT, O&M, and AEC. You're able to identify the opportunities by programming in a keyword, a key phrase, or a NAICS code. And in this case, what I did was I put up all the IT opportunities coming up in the next 24 months for DHS. And on your screen is a screenshot of the actual login for an ePipeline use. And it's able to give you the values in mods of 1,000, and that allows you the starting point for your pipeline as a team. When you go through these, you want to hone in. You don't want to waste time on the wrong opportunities, which a lot of companies do. A lot of teams run down the wrong alley and hit a brick wall. So you would start out with a specific amount, and then you would hone in. And at that point, what you would do is you would then also want to identify who's winning the opportunities around you. You need to know your competition in the market. And with this screenshot here, it's giving you a vertical listing of key primes. These key primes are the opportunities that have been awarded, in this case, over the last 5 years. There are times where you're going to see negatives or zeros. It just varies on the information for the awards. If they've been awarded it or not, it would be an award contract action or task order, and at that point you can identify by clicking into each one of your competitors and or partners. So it's important that a team understands the primes that are out there, and you would be able to identify a more honed-in approach. Let's say if you're a small SBA or veteran-owned or woman-owned company, you're able to hone in on those more specific. So it omits everything that's large and open for anybody to go prime. Now you can specifically hone in on an area of your expertise. Now, of course, earlier we were talking about with Jimmy how to understand the market, how to understand what your plan would be. And this here, once you run a vertical and then you identify an agency, and then you would hone in and identify what your team could do. So if you're going after IT work, you can identify this stuff by a click or two and have it saved into a pipeline profile. That's going to help you and your capture management team understand where you're going. From this point, you would hone in even more. So in the case of modernization for IT within Homeland Security, you want to hone in specifically on the SBA, small business opportunities within Homeland for IT with modernization as a keyword, and there you've just omitted 121 opportunities. So your team is now pinpointing where you need to be. From this point, you're able to run it through the opportunities of the competition and or the opportunities from what's coming up as a pre-RFP. Once you have that open market honed in right down to your specifics, you're able to allow your people not to waste time, money, and energy on the wrong opportunities. You keep ahead of the game. You know what's going on in regards to running reports. You have your updates automatically sent to you for your tracked opportunities as a team or an individual, and nobody can ever say they lost your notes, which is a key play there. Whenever a team goes after an opportunity in the government, if you've got 3 teams going after the same thing, that's a waste of your company's money and time. If you're able to hone in on specific teams going after specific areas, your boots are on the ground, you know exactly what you're doing right away, and your team is going to win more. So always remember, when you're running an opportunity listing, you want to hone in on your specifics. Not anybody would ever have one profile or one lookup. A company or a team are going to have multiple. So that's why it's easy to use to identify it, keep it in order, and put them into profiles so you can understand where you need to be at what time. When you do run those, you're able to run them in a way that you can identify the ways to run all your competition into what Ed can work with, and you're able to identify where you need to be, how you need to go after it, and where you need to put your time and energy. And with that being said, Ed, I'm going to hand it over to you. And if anyone has any questions, you can ask me at the end of the meeting here, and then also contact me at will. But again, I appreciate everyone's time. And Ed?
Thanks, Sean. Let me just back up to this slide right over here. So Jimmy did the research on DHS and determined that money was being spent in certain areas. One of them is modernization. So Sean ran a search on what's coming up in modernization for DHS, came up with 8 or 10 opportunities. And I'm going to take those opportunities and run them through a pipeline management system so that you can put your company in a position to win some of them. It's not enough just to know what's coming out. You've got to position yourself in order to win them. So I'm going to move right into a decision framework. Before I actually load these into a data management system and show you what it takes to really manage a pipeline, I just want to review a few points that I emphasized in the last webinar. First of all, the industry leaders separate themselves from the average firm not because their revenue profile is any different. It isn't. They all have treads and risers. They win a contract, grow it out, win another contract. The difference is the industry leaders have short treads and steep risers, which means they bid and win more often. You can't do that just by identifying the opportunities. You need a decision framework that enables you to separate, to get the hay out of the haystack so you can see where the needles are, the things that you can actually win. The industry leaders do another thing too. They focus all of their energy and all of their money on those opportunities that really can be won using a decision framework to make no bid decisions early, leaving the needles and the hay is actually gone. If no more business development were to be done by a company, their revenue would fall off. It would have to fall off. There's nothing coming in, only revenue going out. And the waterfall chart for a company really determines how frantic they are or how much they need to rely on their business development in order to get their revenues up. So here are two different companies. One I just called the relaxed company because it has a pretty good backlog, and the other is the frantic company because its revenue is dropping off really quickly and it hasn't projected any new revenue from known sources. So the firm contract backlog, the money that they know for sure is coming in, whether it's obligated or not, is really dropping off fast right over here. It doesn't have much in its refrigerator or in its icebox compared to the relaxed company. This kind of a measure, this firm contract backlog measure, is a real basic way to start looking at the analytics of your company. I had a professor that once said if you can't measure something, you really don't know much about it. I think that's absolutely true of business development. And here we want to start by measuring the firm contract backlog. One thing I like about government contracts is that you can run specific analytics through. You can organize your data into analytics so you can measure your performance. And here are 4 backlog measures that I use. One I call leads backlog, which are just early on opportunities that you know you have the capability to win, but you're not very well positioned. Leads backlog are opportunities that you've moved from just a lead, but you've qualified them, which means you know that you're competitive and that no firm has a lock on this work, so you're on the playing field and you've got a chance of winning this, as good a chance as anyone else. Oh, one of you is moving the mouse and pulling it away from me. Qualified proposal backlog is the amount of revenue that you have in your submitted proposals or proposals that are in progress. And there's some certain benchmark numbers that can be used to determine whether or not you've got a healthy company or not. And you can see that I have benchmarked these against some standard numbers. And the firm contract backlog, all of that revenue that the firm knows is coming in without bidding anything else, is at 99% of that benchmark number. And I'll speak a little more about the benchmark in a second and how I get to that. Its qualified proposal backlog is just a little bit above that benchmark number. So its near-term analytics are very healthy. But look at its qualified leads backlog. It's rather thin, and its leads backlog, its new opportunities that they're just starting to look at, is not very strong at all. From a management standpoint, if this were the revenue, if this were the backlog profile, the bid pipeline analytics profile of my company, I'd be pumping a lot of resources in over here identifying new opportunities. For some reason, we did a good job a few years ago, or maybe we just got a lot of recompetes coming up, but it's clear from these analytics that we're not doing a particularly strong job of marketing and identifying new opportunities. It could be, though, that we have an excellent BD program. It's just that nothing's being bid in our area. So either we're not doing a very good job or nothing is being bid in our area. In either case, we have to do something. Either search harder or expand our services and look for new markets. The bid analytics are absolutely crucial, I believe, to manage effectively a business development program for an organization. And the best firms use some sort of bid analytics. Here's a decision framework that really mirrors that graph. We go from prospects, work that the firm could do, then that pursuit either gets moved up because we know that no firm has a lock on the work and we do have an opportunity to win it. If it turns out that we don't have an opportunity to win this, a firm, SAIC or Booz Allen or a small business is so inside of that opportunity because either they're the incumbent or they have such a unique solution or position in the marketplace that the client has to go with them. Unless that's the case, you can move it up. But if it is the case, you want to get it off right there. Imagine if you go through your opportunities and you're waiting to determine that first question, does the incumbent or anyone else have a lock on that work, and you wait until you're up over here to answer that question. You spend a lot of time, probably a lot of money, when in fact you've got an opportunity that you can't win anyway. So what this decision framework does is it orders your capture or orders your pursuit of opportunities in a way that you get the right questions answered early so you can make early no bid decisions, get the hay out of there so when you come up here what you've got is needles, and that you've really found those needles in a haystack that are opportunities that you really can win. You'll save a lot of money. Your win percentage will go up significantly. You'll reduce the amount of stress and pain on your business development staff. And you, as a manager of an organization or the lead in a division within a company, you've got a decision. You can make informed bid decisions or uninformed bid decisions. You really have a choice. You can either use a decision process, be analytical about it, or you can be just opportunistic or random. But I can guarantee you that the firm that uses a decision process that is analytical and systematic is going to beat you 9 times out of 10. I'm going to show you a business acquisition tracker that I used. It's actually a software program that I use with clients and I market as well. And it does 3 things. It provides management with a decision process, it provides capture teams with a pursuit process, and it provides staff with their action schedules. You don't really need much more in order to manage a bid pipeline. I can't go through all of this, but I am going to focus on the management, the decision management process, and it really is for corporate management. So let me switch to the BAT, and I'm going to start right over here. The BAT's a database management system. It's server-based, moving it to the cloud. I also have a desktop version. But I'm going to start with those 10 opportunities, and here are 2 of them in a section that I call prospects. We haven't qualified them at all. They're really pretty new opportunities, and you can see in this spreadsheet, it's really a database. You can see in this spreadsheet that the RFP release dates are really pretty far off, and we're just starting to adjudicate these and figure out what they are. I can take a look at the information that I have about this, and I didn't completely fill out the data input screen, but this has a bunch of drop downs that enables you to make some value decisions about various aspects of the bid decision process overall. I pulled an update on this opportunity from ePipeline. I have a source ID that links this back to the ePipeline opportunity directly. I have all of the information that you would think is important about the opportunity, and that's in the database, and that's in the prospects section. I'm going to go into the contract capture section here, in which we've actually made a decision that we're going to pursue this opportunity a little bit further. And if you remember the pyramid, the early stages, which means you're not very well, you're early in the pursuit of the opportunity, or stage 1. Stage 2 means that you've determined that there's no firm that has a lock on the work. Stage 3 means that you're on the playing field, and the client believes that you're competitive. If you tilted the playing field in your direction, you would be in a stage 4. But we've moved this up into the capture part of the program, and if I were to click on one of the opportunities, you can see this is in stage 1, and I can move it to stage 2 once we answer the question whether there are hurdles that we can't afford to overcome in order to become competitive on this bid overall. This is a new area for us in this one. The RFP is still pretty far out, but we've decided to take a closer look at it because it's not in prospects. I've moved it over to a stage 1 opportunity. The whole database will discount the procurement values based on a win probability that's associated with the stage of the pursuit that can be overridden. So you can see that this $112 million procurement, which is actually multiple awards, so each contract is going to be about $10 million. We've decided at this point we want to prime it, so we would do $10 million if we primed it. But I've discounted this way down to only a $500,000 expected value because we're only in stage 1. If I were to move this up to stage 2, that win probability automatically changes, and you can see the expected value from that procurement goes up. And if I could actually move it up to stage 4, then the expected value of that procurement really goes up quite a lot. And it's these kinds of little applications, little apps in here that do these kinds of calculations, and then a bunch of other things that enable you to actually develop the analytics. But the analytics are not management. And so let me just show you 2 of the management tools in here as a corporate officer or division manager, or even the head of business development, that you want to know. You want to know about your backlog in the different areas that we talked about: firm contract backlog, and then the various stages of the quality of the pursuit. And over here I provide some guidelines that are benchmarked against the revenue of the total organization or division within the organization. And over here are the backlog gauges, or the how far from the benchmark the firm actually is. So you can see from this example, the firm contract backlog for the corporation is only 50% of the gauge. It's not that healthy. Its qualified proposal backlog is only 69% of the benchmark. It's not all that healthy. The qualified leads backlog is only 4%. It doesn't have much there, and its lead backlog is really pretty unhealthy as well. That doesn't mean all the opportunities are not being well qualified, but it does mean overall this firm is getting itself into trouble. It has nothing in its backlog that's going to get it out of trouble, and actually there's absolutely nothing here that's good about this firm. Although some of the divisions within the firm, and I'm just using the word tier to identify a division, are a little bit better, but it's not that one, but I think tier 2 is a little bit better. Yeah, even though one of its divisions is doing very well. It has a very healthy firm contract backlog. Its qualified proposal backlog is well above the benchmark. It doesn't have much in its later stages, its well-qualified pursuits, and it doesn't have too much in its early stage, so it really needs to focus over here, but it probably has the time to do that. compared to the other division, which is dragging the company down. I don't have all of the data filled in, but this chart will give a quick snapshot of what else is going on in the various stages of the backlogs. With that said, let me just pop to one other part of this, and that's the map. Here on one page is contract capture tier 2 corporation. There we go. Here are all of the bids for the corporation. Let's see, there were 8 or 10 on Sean's list. I took 2 out because they were not real procurements. 2 are in prospects, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are actually in our capture phase. This chart plots the maturity of the opportunity, or measures of competitiveness, from stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, where 1 is you don't know much about the opportunity, you just know you have the capabilities to do it. 2 means the playing field is level. There's no firm that for any reason has a lock on that work. You don't know if you're competitive or not. If the client thinks you are competitive, then you're in a stage 3, and if you can tilt the playing field in your direction, you're actually in stage 4. And along the bottom, what I'm plotting is time until the RFP comes out, right over here. So this is 26 weeks from RFP release, 4 weeks from RFP release, and then further on over here. So as a manager, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I've got some early on opportunities that are in stage 1, but I want to watch these. It's getting close to 26 weeks, and they should be moving up a little bit faster. Here's a stage 2 opportunity, and it's moving up. I want to pay close attention to that too. What can I talk to that capture manager about to get it over the hump to become a stage 3? Here we know it's only stage 2. The procurement's competitive. We just haven't convinced the client that we're a low risk or an equal risk prime here. Now over here the RFP is about to come out. This opportunity is in reasonably good shape, but I'm scratching my head over here. We're still in stage 2, so the trajectory of this procurement, this pursuit over time, has been rather weak. The trajectory of this one has been reasonably strong. I don't have any 4s, but at least I have one 3 in here. So as a manager, I get a chance to look at the whole pipeline landscape in one view, so that I can question where we are with those opportunities and what it's going to take to get it up to the next stage. Extremely powerful chart. And I can look at the opportunities at any level within the organization and sort it in a bunch of other ways. So as a manager, as an owner of the company, or as the officer in charge of the company, I pay attention to this chart and I use it to monitor the performance of the capture teams, just to make sure that things are not languishing on the bid list, but they're moving smartly through a decision process, so that we're always bidding from stage 3 or stage 4 and never letting things languish along so that we're bidding from stage 1 or 2. But just think about it. If you only bid opportunities in which you knew based on hard evidence that you were competitive, or you've tilted the playing field in this direction and have a solution that's germane and important to the client, or built up some relationships, or have management approaches that are high value to the client, you're going to win a higher percentage of work than if you bid out of stage 1 or out of stage 2. Oftentimes I hear firms say, well, I don't know that much about the procurement, but I'm going to throw a bid in anyway so they'll see our quals. Well, these proposals could cost you $10, $20, $75, $100,000. They cost a ton of money to do. I'd rather take that money, not waste it on a losing bid, but invest it in meeting the client, positioning the company better, so when that procurement comes back up, or if there's other work coming out, I've already positioned myself with the company, with the client, and I'm much better prepared to get on a winning trajectory with that organization than wasting time here. And if I were running this organization, if that opportunity didn't at least get up to here in this time frame, I'd have to say that's a big candidate for a no bid. Either the capture team isn't all that serious about it, or there's something structural that's preventing us from winning that contract overall. The Business Acquisition Tracker, or the BAT, has CRM capabilities in here. It has the ability to track it has the ability to plot the opportunities. It has a great query generator that my developer put together that I can drive out Excel spreadsheets of any relationship within that database. A really interesting Gantt chart that will plot when those RFPs are coming out, so you can see if you're starting to stress your proposal resources, and I can go forward in time, and that looks pretty good overall with those number of awards. But sometimes I can see, especially with larger companies, things all bunch up at the same time, and I want to get an early warning that we're going to have some resource issues going forward. So I'm going to stop there with the BAT and get back to the opportunities. Okay. In the Go to Meeting slide, there's a section for questions, and I see some of you found that already. But if you haven't, if you just click on that right at the end, and we're nearing the end right now, I'll pull out as many questions as we have time for, and those that we don't get a chance to answer in the call today, we'll write those up and send them off to you. But I've got a few things I want to offer to you. Some of them are really free. If any of you are interested in just to talk about your company, I'd be pleased to do this. I love to talk about contractors, consulting firms. I'm not going to market you on the phone, but if you have an issue that you're addressing, whether it's about business development or any aspect of management and running of your company, whether it has to do with HR, personnel issues, any issue that you're facing, most of the things I address have to do with becoming more competitive and beating the competition. But I'd be pleased to talk to any of you about what you're seeing within your company, and I'll tell you what I think. I can usually give you a pretty good answer. If any of you are interested in the Business Acquisition Tracker, the desktop version, which is $4,000, I'll just cut that in half. If you're interested in it, I'd let you have that for $19.95. It upgrades to the server version. So the desktop version is a single user version. If you're a small business, it's perfectly suitable. If you grow to a larger business and you have more than one or two divisions, or if you have one or two divisions or more, the server version works really well, and this just all rolls up to the server version. I'll also give you the full training program that I sell separately, and if you don't like it, I'll take it back and give you your money back. I have a really great business acquisition training course. It's online and also on a CD, and I'm just going to discount that significantly if you're interested in it, and I just will wrap it into the Business Acquisition Tracker. My developer is out on vacation for 10 days, so if you're interested in this, you just contact me directly. But you can go up on the website. You can just go to the home page, but go look for the section on software or the section on training, and there's some good videos up there that give you a better introduction and more detail of both the training program. Jimmy, let's just run through the key points, and then we can talk about your book offer too.
Yeah, hey folks, it's hard work. It's not easy, but you know, as Ed was showing you in the tracker there, the way you're going to get these deals to close is to really understand your customer, the funding, and how they view you. Go look at the 2013 budget for Homeland Security. We showed you how to do that. Look at all the web links. Make sure you're reading everything you can about them, and understand what are the key 300s that impact the different divisions of Homeland Security you're trying to penetrate. And I put a little note up there on the webinar screen. I'm happy to take calls at the event as well at james@jamesjbaker.com. Be happy to speak with you in a little more detail.
Okay, Sean, the key points from finding the opportunities.
It's always important for a company to understand how to qualify your opportunities you're going to go after. And one of the things you really need to understand is how to identify and qualify them and keep them in order. So you really need to make sure that when you're identifying an opportunity, you're not identifying an opportunity that your team cannot go after, or you're not allowed to because you're not an 8A. Understanding your market through open opportunities will always help because you're doing long-term as well as quick push opportunities. You're going to get a lead time way above an FBO lookup. A lot of people use FBO, but you're missing the boat on approximately 40% of what's really out there. And the awards are really key too, because every time you see an award go out, you want to also watch how they're being paid and how they're invoicing. So you cross-reference that for your team in the next go-around, if you will, or a parent, peer, or child contract. It's very important to do that. But also keep a forward eye on upcoming opportunities through the utilization of alerts that you can use throughout your whole team or individually. And that's what ePipeline really helps you with, is to make sure that you can identify and qualify those opportunities, keep them in order, and know where you're going to be at what time without having any kind of crunch times hitting you on a Monday morning and not really realizing it's there. So always remember that, and keep in mind as well that I'm always available. My contact information is up there on one of the slides as well, but it's sean.campbell@epipeline.com, and I'll be more than happy to speak to any of you as well one-on-one. I can walk you through the full solution in a WebEx meeting one-on-one as well. And if anybody does look at ePipeline and wants to join, I can offer a 20% off the regular rates. So I appreciate everyone's time, and Ed, I'll give it back to you.
And pretty affordable rates too compared to the competition, I might say. Identifying the opportunities is only half of it. Then you've got to figure out how are you going to win it. And what winning has more to do with your competition's credentials and how they're setting up as it does with your credentials and how you're setting up. So you could be very strong, very well positioned, you believe, but some other company or some other team is stronger and better positioned. That's the competitive landscape. And finding ways, spending time on finding ways to determine that competitive landscape is what I spend a lot of time on. But it's what separates the winners from the losers, because it'll tell you where your weaknesses are in your pursuit strategy, not in your credentials, but in your pursuit strategy and the status of your pursuit and your ability to win that. Making no-bid decisions early is absolutely critical, because then you can take those dollars you didn't waste on opportunities you couldn't win anyway, because you've answered the right questions early, and reinvest those dollars in opportunities that you can win. That's why the firms that do really well in this business have a high win rate. Bid only well-qualified opportunities, stage 3 or stage 4. I never bid from stage 1 and stage 2. I've not had very much luck with flyers, although once in a while they win. But it's like the stock market. You know, you just might close your eyes and pick a winning stock, but that doesn't mean you've really done the real research and qualified those stocks or your opportunities really well. And if you don't use analytics to manage your pipeline, you don't need a data management system like I have, although it's a lot easier. You just need a pencil and paper. Make sure you know the status of your opportunities in each stage of the bid, and have a way to really question the capture team. I like the bat map to question the capture team, because it's right out there and extremely clear what the status of each one of those opportunities are. There's no hiding there. And if you follow those precepts for following the money, finding the opportunities, and ways to win more than your competitors, you absolutely will win more than your competitors. And I don't have it. Okay, we do have our next event scheduled for December 12th. And we're going to focus on making the most of your small business status. Does the government really care if you're a small business? And whether they do or whether they don't, you have it. And how do you really mine that preference status that you have to your advantage, number one. And number two, how are you going to grow out of that program? You have to grow out of it if you're an 8A. You don't have to if you're a small business, but do you want to stay in that program? What does it take to grow out of that, out of those preference programs? Okay, let me go to questions at this point. Okay, I'm in the wrong section. There was a question about whether we have case studies for any other agencies. Jimmy is actually working on a couple right now, and so I guess the short answer is yes, we do. And we could, if people are interested in more case studies as opposed to some of the things that we're doing, please just send us a note. Send any one of us a note with your suggestions, and we'll
I can
add those
also
in.
give an example to that. We're going to be doing more of these. Next month we want to talk to you, having interviewed a number of ex-CIOs, having been a director of business development for a startup 8A. We want to make sure that we're giving you all some really good concrete data to help you navigate the market. But in terms of case study, in my private consulting business, I'm working with a couple clients right now where they've brought me in to do an agency playbook where we are literally going through all this information. And I know I gave it to you all in a quick little segment, but I mean, it's a lot of work. And I do work with organizations, tactically. And we're also looking into next year about doing more of these case studies on different agencies, both defense and civilian.
Here's a question about ePipeline. Is it a service similar to GovWin IQ?
Great question. GovWin IQ and ePipeline are complete other kinds of vehicles that end up going to the same kind of vantage point in a company's organization. I would like to say I'm a little bit biased, but we are much easier to utilize it. It comes out in a very clean format, and you really need to identify what is the ups and downs for a company. So what I mean by that is you really want to look at the ePipeline for yourself. And I can be available to walk anybody through a WebEx meeting like that. But when it comes down to it, everything out there is public knowledge. It's just a way that you gather it and the importance of having researchers in your back pocket. So as a company that utilizes ePipeline and or GovWin, you're able to utilize researchers. Our research staff are full-time employee researchers that come with a history about government work. And also keep in mind that if you do want to go through identifying a qualified opportunity, I can walk you through that as well. So I can let you see the great points that ePipeline has as an advantage.
A question about whether we recommend Bloomberg Government or EasyGov Ops or other market intelligence or market research.
Let me chime in on that one. Read the budget first and then come back and ask that one. You've got to be able to follow the money trail. And again, once you're able to do that, you can take these opportunities into ePipeline or other places. But in terms of different services and other things like that, first you got to figure out what they're spending and can you actually provide it. So I would really spend an immense amount of time with those 370 line items of the budget at Homeland Security and figure out, do they have new money and can they fit? And then through that you can look at the, some of the different areas as you mentioned with EasyGov or, through Sean's company, et cetera.
And this is Sean as well. I would like to add to that. You always want to have tools in a toolbox for a team. You don't just want to walk in and have your golden shovel and think that's all and meat. You really need to understand all facets of the government from A to Z. And there's tons of stuff out there that really confuses people. But when you boil down to like what Jimmy was saying and what Ed was saying, it's really all in the sense of how to understand where your team needs to be. And any kind of website that you can look up a budget, any kind of line items that you can look at is always very good for a company to review as a team ongoing. However, never, ever, ever realize that one tool for itself is going to help you 100% of the time, all the time, because it really is boots on the ground, understanding your market. because not everybody on the phone is in the same market. We're all within government, but we're not all within IT. We're not all within architecture. So it's an individuality, and that's where everything comes together, and it allows you to pinpoint what you need and identify what you need to get at right away without wasting your time.
Great. And yeah, the more you can get to the answers to the questions, the less money you're going to spend on your business development program overall. Well, that was the last question. Almost everybody is still on the phone or still on the webinar, but that was the last question. So if there are any others, just pop them in now. And if that's not the case, I'll be getting the slides out to everybody who signed up for the webinar, and we'll have complete contact information in those slides. And then we'll also have the replay of the video available in just a couple of days, and we'll notify you when that's ready and what the link is to that website with the video archived. So it looks like that was the last question. Okay, no, one more just popped up. Where and what site can we get the opportunity lists? Let's see. If you mean the ones that are in this presentation, they came from ePipeline directly.
Yeah, if it has to do with the slides that I was using, those were actual lookups for the opportunities within modernization, IT, and Homeland Security all together. So when you hone in on that, you're using keyword, a key agency, and a key date and time. So you can get those individually, or you can load them up as an end user of ePipeline very easily. And you can contact me. All my contact information will be up, and I can walk you through that.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
And Ed, I just have a question for the audience, and it's kind of a rhetorical question that they can come back and answer us. But hey, folks, I have helped start up businesses. I've worked for them in a BD capacity, and if you sit down tomorrow with your BD team and they haven't read the budget, they haven't read the business cases, if your marketing team has no idea what are the key issues on that, begin to work these things. And you know, as you saw here, we showed you how ePipeline can get you a nice portfolio of deals to chase. And Ed, you know, when you're going through that, I'm telling you, having won a bunch of deals, having worked on many of them in many situations, those little nuances of you know, moving your percentage are the critical steps of this. So, you know, my advice and question would be to you is, if your team's not doing this now, talk to us, and we can, you know, certainly help you with that. But it's paramount for you to move forward, being able to know these answers to these questions.
Absolutely. A good systematic approach with complete information beats the alternative. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you very much. But Jimmy, Sean, and I appreciate you spending the hour with us, and those of you that hung in to the very end, and that was almost all of you. So look for an email with the follow-up information, with the slides, and with the access to the webinar. And with that, we'll sign off.
Thank you very much.